What if I told you that the reason you can't sleep, the reason you snap at people you care about, the reason you forget simple things and feel emotionally drained, isn't weakness? What if it's your brain adapting to pressure? Imagine waking up tired even after a full night in bed. You misplace your phone twice before breakfast. Small inconveniences feel overwhelming. You feel alone in your struggle, even when surrounded by people. It's frustrating, it's confusing, and it feels personal, but it may not be personal at all. It may be stress. Stress has a bad reputation. We treat it like the villain of modern life. But stress, in its original design, is not your enemy. In fact, it's one of your most powerful survival tools. When you're about to give an important presentation, your heart beats faster, your senses sharpen, you feel alert. That surge of energy, that's stress helping you rise to the occasion. When you're in a competitive situation, stress fuels performance. When danger appears, stress prepares you to react instantly. It mobilizes resources inside your body with incredible precision. The problem begins when that temporary alarm system never switches off. Instead of a short burst, stress becomes a constant background noise. Work deadlines stack up. Family tensions linger. Financial concerns sit quietly in the back of your mind. Notifications, expectations, responsibilities, they don't stop. And when stress becomes chronic, it doesn't just affect how you feel. It begins to reshape how your brain functions. Deep inside your body, there is a communication network designed specifically to manage stress. It links parts of your brain with hormone-producing glands. When your brain detects a challenge or threat, this network activates within seconds. Signals travel, hormones are released. Your body prepares for action. One of the most important hormones in this process is cortisol. Cortisol is not evil. In short-term situations, it's incredibly useful. It increases glucose in your bloodstream to supply energy. It heightens alertness. It temporarily shifts focus away from long-term processes like digestion or growth, so you can handle the immediate challenge. But cortisol was never meant to stay elevated for months or years. When pressure becomes constant, cortisol levels remain high, and over time, that excess begins to wear down key areas of your brain. One of the first regions affected is the amygdala. This structure plays a central role in processing fear and emotional reactions. Under prolonged stress, the amygdala becomes more active and forms stronger connections. It essentially becomes more sensitive. That means your brain gets better at detecting threats even when there aren't any. A neutral comment might feel like criticism. A minor inconvenience may trigger outsized frustration. You become hyper-aware, scanning for danger or problems. It's not that you've become overly dramatic. It's that your fear circuitry has been strengthened. At the same time, another vital structure begins to weaken: the hippocampus. The hippocampus is crucial for forming memories and learning new information. It also plays a key role in calming the stress response once a threat has passed. In a healthy system, the hippocampus helps signal that it's safe to relax. But chronic exposure to high cortisol levels disrupts communication in this region. Electrical activity becomes less efficient. The production of new neurons slows down. Connections between cells weaken. This is why chronic stress can make it harder to concentrate. Why studying feels more difficult. Why you walk into a room and forget what you needed. Why details slip through your mind. It's not laziness, it's biology. When the hippocampus weakens, its ability to regulate stress also weakens. That means the very system designed to turn off your stress response becomes less effective. The alarm keeps ringing. Then there is the prefrontal cortex, the area right behind your forehead responsible for decision-making, impulse control, planning, and social behavior. This region helps you think logically, weigh consequences, and manage emotions. Excess cortisol over long periods can shrink this area by reducing synaptic connections. When those connections are lost, your ability to focus, reason clearly, and control impulses can decline. You may find yourself procrastinating more, reacting emotionally instead of thoughtfully, struggling to make decisions, feeling mentally foggy. These are not character flaws. They are signs of a nervous system under strain. Research has also linked chronic stress to increased risk of mood disorders. When emotional centers become overactive and regulatory centers weaken, vulnerability to depression can increase. Long-term stress may even contribute to cognitive decline later in life, but the story goes deeper. Scientists studying animals discovered that early life experiences can influence how the brain responds to stress long-term. In controlled experiments with rodents, researchers observed differences between offspring raised by attentive mothers versus those raised with minimal nurturing. The young that received consistent care developed more receptors in their brains that bind to cortisol. These receptors help regulate the stress response. As adults, these animals were calmer and more resilient under pressure. Those raised with less nurturing developed fewer receptors and became more reactive to stress throughout their lives. What makes this discovery remarkable is that the differences were not due to changes in the DNA sequence itself. Instead, they involved changes in how genes were expressed, what scientists call epigenetics. The genetic code remained the same, but the way it functioned was altered by experience. Even more astonishing, some of these changes were passed down to future generations. This suggests that the effects of stress can echo beyond a single lifetime. Now, before this sounds overwhelming, there is powerful hope in this science. The brain is not static, it is adaptable. It is capable of change in both directions. Just as chronic stress can weaken certain regions, positive habits can strengthen them. Two of the most effective tools for reversing stress-related changes are physical exercise and mindfulness practices. Regular physical activity reduces cortisol levels and stimulates the release of growth factors that support the creation of new neurons, especially in the hippocampus. Exercise improves mood, enhances memory, and increases mental clarity. You don't need extreme routines. Consistency matters more than intensity. Walking briskly for 30 minutes, cycling, swimming, strength training, even simple bodyweight exercises done regularly can make a measurable difference. Movement signals safety to your nervous system. It helps reset stress chemistry. Mindfulness and meditation work through a different pathway but produce equally powerful results. Slow, intentional breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest and recovery. Focused attention strengthens neural circuits involved in emotional regulation. Over time, consistent mindfulness practice has been associated with increased gray matter density in brain regions tied to learning and memory. It helps calm the amygdala and strengthen the prefrontal cortex. You are literally training your brain to respond instead of react. Small daily habits compound over time. Sleep also plays a critical role. During deep sleep, the brain clears metabolic waste, consolidates memories, and resets stress hormones. Chronic sleep deprivation amplifies cortisol levels, creating another vicious cycle. Prioritizing consistent, quality sleep is one of the simplest yet most powerful stress interventions available. Social connection is another protective factor. Supportive relationships buffer the effects of stress by releasing oxytocin and other neurochemicals that counterbalance cortisol. Isolation, on the other hand, magnifies stress responses. You are not meant to carry life alone. The key insight is this: stress itself is not the problem. Unmanaged, continuous stress is. You cannot eliminate all pressure from your life. Challenges will always exist. But you can build resilience. You can create routines that tell your nervous system it is safe. You can choose movement over stagnation, awareness over autopilot, rest over constant stimulation. Every time you go for a walk instead of scrolling endlessly, you are strengthening your hippocampus. Every time you take 5 slow breaths before reacting, you are reinforcing your prefrontal cortex. Every time you prioritize sleep, you are lowering cortisol. These choices may seem small, but neurologically, they are profound. Your brain is constantly reshaping itself in response to your habits. So the real question becomes, what patterns are you reinforcing each day? Are you feeding the fear circuits with endless stress and rumination? Or are you building the networks of calm, clarity, and resilience? Because if chronic stress can shrink key regions of your brain, imagine what consistent recovery can expand. If pressure can leave biological imprints, what might sustained peace do? And if experiences can influence not only your own stress response, but potentially echo into future generations? What kind of emotional legacy are you building right now, without even realizing it?